I'd like to welcome you to this session on ensuring workspace transformation success with Digital Workspace Management Solutions from Liquidware. This is a session that was delivered live at IGEL Disrupt in Chicago. However, this session has been recorded so you can watch this if you weren't able to attend the event. I'm Jason E. Smith, Vice President of Alliances and Product Marketing at Liquidware, and I'm fortunate enough to have with me today Thomas Laossois, also on the Alliances team, that will co-present with me today. We provide digital workspace management, and we have a whole suite of solutions that'll help you with any desktop transformation phase. Whether it's a virtual workspace, a cloud workspace, or a physical workspace, we can help take your users in your enterprise through every logical step of your desktop transformation. We do this with our user environment management solution, known as Profile Unity, our application layering solution, known as FlexApp, and our monitoring and diagnostic solution that we'll focus most on today, known as Stratusphere UX. It offers sophisticated digital experience monitoring and diagnostics, from onboarding to everyday user experience metrics. The times to engage Stratusphere UX is if you are about to do an assessment for a next generation desktop or platform, like the IGEL OS, or a new version of Windows, such as Windows 11 or Microsoft AVD. In its most complete form, Stratusphere UX provides end-to-end monitoring and analytics, and we'll speak about this much today. And if you're just looking to have a health check, you can also engage us at any time to do that, to give you a checkup of your systems, and then we can provide you with beneficial information to share with you how Stratusphere UX can add significant value on an ongoing basis in your environment. Stratusphere UX is a pioneer in digital experience visibility and scoring. It provides workspace transparency across all workspace platforms, regardless of how you're delivering Windows, including that first mile of connectivity, which could be a Linux-powered endpoint, like IGEL OS. Supports all tiers of desktop support, so you can engage all different teams, from help desk to support operations. Stratusphere UX becomes the user experience tie that binds. It enables data sharing across all these functional teams, and it gives you one-of-a-kind, unique metrics that gives you better visibility from both top to bottom and left to right. It provides time-based metrics for forensic diagnostics and a daily, trending, and a near-time real view of user experience metrics. Stratusphere UX also features data integration with third-party solutions such as ServiceNow, Remedy IT, and it's easy to provide these reports in Power BI. Liquidware and IGEL have been partners since 2009. Lately, Liquidware has developed a custom-built Connector ID Stratusphere UX agent specifically for the IGEL OS. This is available directly from within the IGEL OS firmware, so there's no need to even install the agent. It simply reports back to the Stratusphere UX management console. This approach enables end-to-end monitoring and diagnostics of the user experience, even from this first mile of connectivity to your Windows workspace. There's a joint solution brief detailing this integration available on igel.com and on liquidware.com. Here's a look from within the IGEL OS where you can find the Connector ID agent. You simply navigate over to Settings and you choose the Connector ID key software. As you see to the right, you simply put in the IP address of the Stratusphere UX Unified Management Console, and the Stratusphere endpoints begin gathering this data and feeding these user experience metrics back to the central location. And now I'd like to ask Thomas to cover the next several slides.
Thank you, Jason. As Jason just showed you, we have an agent embedded into the firmware of IGEL OS. So obviously from that perspective, we'll get all the information from the IGEL device, such as machine consumption, CPU, memory, GPU, etc. But Stratusphere UX also capture information beyond the IGEL device. Will typically get installed onto the target VM, whether that VM is running on a VDI environment, either running on VMware or Citrix, or on the cloud desktop running on Microsoft Azure, AWS, or Google GCP. The amount of information that Stratusphere collects is fairly big. We've been doing that for over 10 years now, and there is over 500 different types of metrics we capture. But everything is centered around answering a number of key questions. So first and foremost, we focus and we specialize in the end user workspace. So your desktop, whatever shape or form. So all the information we're going to collect are going to be centered around that. Picture, if you will, a full VDI environment starting from the IGEL device all the way to the VM you're running, and even back to the application server or the infrastructure servers you have on the back end. Stratusphere is designed to capture information at every stage, every phase of the workspace. The information we collect, I would say, can be categorized in 3 or 4 different categories. First, there is what we call the inventory. So whatever you have, it's more around machine inventory, if you want. What this machine is made of, how much disk space, CPU, memory installed, and so on and so forth. Second, we're going to capture usage. So information about how much resources, compute resources, are consumed. Again, CPU, memory, disk, network, and so on and so forth. And finally, we're going to collect information around performance. So this is where it gets interesting and where most of the use cases around Stratusphere are based on. So those are informational metrics such as how much time it takes you to log in, launch an application, is your screen slow, is the application slow, and so on and so forth. So all that information is captured on all those different platforms. And the most important features, I believe, around Stratusphere is correlation. So we can pick a single user connecting to a single IGEL device and correlate that to the VM, the hypervisor, the servers, the storage, even on the application side, because all the information captured by Stratusphere are timestamped and correlated. A couple examples of information we'll capture just to give you ID beyond the general information. We'll capture data such as your wireless performance, the detail of a login breakdown. So we'll know exactly everything that's happening on your device from the time you entered your credential until the time you can actually type information. And obviously, all the information when it comes down to remote sessions. So we'll know what application are launched, how much resources do they take, and so on and so forth. Next, I wanted to show you a few examples of what you can do with that information. This first example comes from our UI. It's pretty much what I would call the raw data. And this is a great example of how the information can be used. Here, for example, in that case, we looked at GPU usage, so your graphic card usage on a thin client running IGEL OS, and the impact it has on the CPU consumption, as well as the network consumptions for the remote sessions. So we can literally see and compare what would be the consumption or the resource utilization between a device that's running on the GPU-enabled hardware against one that doesn't have one. This could prove very interesting if you're trying to decide the benefits of adding a GPU card either on the endpoint or on the VM itself. And you can measure the cost benefits associated with such an investment. So this is just one example. And obviously, this is just the raw. The information collected by Stratusphere is accessible through a web UI, and we give you a different number of tools to access that information. Obviously, you have the UI itself, as you can see here from a couple of different screenshots, where you can navigate, run around, find information you want. You can also run a number of reports. We have about 250 templates of reports available to be run. And we also have dashboard. Set of preset dashboard, but you can also build your own dashboard and other UI tools so that you get the information at the level you want. This is an example of a pre-built dashboard in Stratusphere. And as you can see, this will give you detailed information about the remote session between your IGEL endpoints and the VM session. And you'll be able to see who or when is using the most resources, if you have any spikes in activity, in performance, but also in productivity across the board. And finally, I wanted to show a couple different examples of what you could do with Stratusphere. Stratusphere comes with an API, a REST API, that allows you to build any or create any type of report you want. So you don't have to be satisfied with our own library. You can build your own reports. For me, what it means, it allows us to cross the gap between providing the information that gives you the answer to giving you the answer to the question. And that's therefore, in our perspective, it's essential for customers because that gap is usually the reason why the tools don't get used. So using the API, we've helped partners and customers create custom reports that match exactly what they're looking for. In this example, this is a performance dashboard, if you want, that's focusing on the overall end-to-end performance of an environment. Starting from this particular customers was focused mostly on applications. So what are the performance indicators or KPI tied to the application, including do they run, how much resource do they use, any network latency or application crashing. Next level is machine level on the VM itself. And then below that, network and obviously the IGEL device. So you can see here in that example, two primary concerns are being raised. One, disk latency, that's probably a storage issue or a VM distribution issue in the data stores. But secondly, Wi-Fi. Typically, some of those users don't have a great Wi-Fi or maybe are connecting from Starbucks coffee place or something. But definitely, if there are any performance issue, it's probably tied to one of those issues. So that's one example of custom report you can leverage in your environment. Another one you can see on the top end, and something we've worked in collaboration with IGEL, are reports such as health check that are designed to, in one click, give a full view of what's going on in your environment. As you can see from the screen, this is designed to give you a across-the-board perspective in what's going on from the endpoint device all the way down to the application running on the target VM.
Thanks, Thomas. Now I'd like to talk about our IGEL OS Repurpose PC Assessment Program. It's an exclusive offer from Liquidware, and we've worked closely with IGEL to make this available to you and to IGEL partners. What this does is leverage a 7 to 14-day assessment by Stratusphere UX, so you can use it in your existing Windows Enterprise to determine how many machines that you'd like to repurpose to the IGEL OS. After that assessment period, we'll re-engage with you and sit down to talk about your workspace usage, application inventory, and what applications were actually in use. This program will help speed your desktop transformation to the IGEL OS and help you maximize ROI in your environment by repurposing PCs that your organization already owns. There's a joint solution brief on igel.com and liquidware.com, and it's featured over here to the right, but you can download it as a PDF on our respective websites. To engage in one of these free assessments, you can simply visit the URL that you see on this page at liquidware.com/igel. Fill out this short form, and we'll be in touch to get you started with your free Stratusphere UX assessment for repurposing your PCs to IGEL OS. So today we spoke mostly about our monitoring and diagnostic solution, Stratusphere UX. The times to engage us are during assessments, end-to-end monitoring and analytics, and anytime you need a health check. We'd like to thank the IGEL training team once again for giving us this opportunity to talk about Liquidware and focus on Stratusphere UX for the IGEL OS. For more information, contact us at sales@liquidware.com.